The MLB is absolutely screwing the Toronto Blue Jays, and it is time that someone talks about it. It's following what was an absolutely brutal loss yesterday. All eyes were on the umpire as the Jays, once again, for the third time in the last week or two, were absolutely screwed. We're going to break down exactly what happened and discuss some interesting rumors. People are talking about a scandal against the Jays, ridiculous stuff, and we also have John Schneider coming out and revealing his thoughts on the wild game that was yesterday, and specifically the brutal missed call that many fans are talking about today. But before we get into all this, folks, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Obviously, the Jays are struggling right now, but they still have a one-game lead, technically 2 games with tiebreaker in the AL East. And if you're excited for content all postseason long, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And of course, for the rest of the regular season into the offseason, which hopefully will end with a World Series win. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, folks. It's time we talk about it. The MLB is not only screwing the Toronto Blue Jays, there's rumblings of a scandal, all these different things. And I want to preface this by saying, this is not the reason the Jays lost yesterday's game, but let's just talk about it because I didn't have a post-game video last night, and I just want to kind of vent a little bit today. And again, I want to preface all of this by saying, this was not the reason the Toronto Blue Jays lost the game yesterday in its entirety, and it's not the reason these multiple misblown calls as of late, the Toronto Blue Jays are losing games. Their offense has been absolutely brutal. They can't drive in runs when it matters. However, I do think yesterday you can attribute a significant portion of the loss to this clearly a double missed call, which would have drove in 2. Now, in case you missed the game, bases loaded, 2 outs. George Springer hits a ground ball to the left or to the third base. It bounces clearly over the bag into the left corner there, left field corner. Should have been called a double. Calls it foul. John Schneider comes out, argues with the umpire, and they can't do anything because you can't review plays that are in front of the umpire. Folks, the ball is circled there for you all, clearly over the bag. And keep in mind, it doesn't matter where it bounces after, as long as the ball is hit over third base, which you can clearly see here. You can clearly see from multiple different angles. Here is one of the clips there on the left without the circle. Like clearly, no matter what angle you look at it from, it should have been a fair ball. You cannot be missing these calls at the MLB level in games that are this big. It was absolutely horrible. The umpires have been absolutely dreadful, truly awful for years now, and they've gotten better according to the analytics at home plate. And of course, this was followed up by Doug Eddings, one of the worst umpires in baseball, coming out and missing a clear pitch, which would have been ball 3, I believe, or ball 2 to George Springer. Calls him out 3 inches off the plate. Doug Eddings is an absolutely, and I want to make this clear, absolutely atrocious umpire, and he has been for many, many years. But of course, strictly, I'm nothing against him as a person. He's just a really bad umpire. We've seen it for years, and he has one of the worst strike zones. However, this call here is right in front of the umpire, and he just goes ahead and absolutely blows it, costs the Jays multiple runs. And something I want to talk about here is this isn't the first time this has happened as of late. Of course, we know all the eyes were on Anthony Santander or Alek Manoah getting DFA'd. Folks, this has happened 3 times now. Obviously, the horrible fan interference call, missed call. Dalton Varsho's catch, brutal missed call, and the reasoning was because they couldn't see whether or not the ball bounced on the ground when the ball was in his glove. That was MLB's official, statement. And guess what? You could say that for literally every single diving catch. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And in my opinion, the worst one of all, right in front of the umpire, over the bag. Now, can't say it's the fully worst one because, again, they didn't have a replay for this in live time. I'm sure it's harder than, a lot of people think. He is literally staring at it go right over the bag. You cannot miss that call in a game like that. And I do not want to excuse the Jays. Offense, horrible. They need to be better. The batters need to be better. They haven't been able to do anything, and that's why their lead is now down to 1 game. But I do want to kind of just have a nice video to rant about it because it continued to happen. It has continued to happen, and it is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. And it would have made the score, whatever it was, 2-1 at the time, or 3-1, and it would have been 2-1, I believe. Whatever the score would have been, it would have had Lucas Giolito on the ropes with still another runner at, again, it was bases loaded, so depending on how you want to view it, either a runner at second and first, or first and third, or second and third, whatever, depending on how the ball bounced, it would have been a clear shift of events. Instead, the game remains, ended up being 1-1. And then, of course, they put up a 3 spot on Gausman, and then the bullpen shut it down for the Red Sox and the Jays. They didn't give up another run. Horrible umpiring. Really, really bad. Now, people are talking about this. This is kind of, got brought up recently. Rob Manfred says he grew up a Yankees fan. He still watches a lot of their games. People are talking about conspiracies because the Yankees, obviously have not a bigger fan base necessarily, but, the ratings are driven. They make more money if the Yankees, make it to the playoffs. Whatever it is, to have this happen in 1 inning, I didn't take the full screenshot here. Multiple missed calls. The missed call to George Springer. The call before that to Alejandro Kirk, which should have been ball 4, called a strike, which is 4 inches inside. multiple, the missed call down the third baseline, multiple missed calls to end the year, which is funny because the announcement was made yesterday that the ABS challenge system is coming to baseball next season. So that'll fix a lot of the problems, and a lot of these umpires, I guess mistakes will be shed to light here. And this isn't a hating on umpires video. It's, not really hating on anything. It's just they need to be better. It's as simple as that. I'm sure their job is very tough, but these are not calls. And make the MLB should change this rule. Like everything that has this big implication should be reviewable. It's right in front of his eyes. And there's been so many missed calls for the Jays that have cost them multiple games, multiple runs. The biggest game of the year yesterday was at least somewhat blown because of the umpires. And it is absolutely ludicrous. And I'm quite frankly, sick of it. I was about as mad as I have been watching a Jays game in a while. And again, I'm going to say it a million times. That's not the reason they lost the game. At least not the full reason. They should have scored more runs. If you want to win the AL East, you want to win the World Series, you have to deal with the human element. But man, oh man, does everyone know that was a fair ball. You had Red Sox fans coming out and laughing, saying it was, a fair ball, which respect to them, I guess. But it is bad. People are, you see here, you kidding me? Springer hits a double. They call it a foul ball. Then he's running up on a pitch outside. MLB is doing everything in their power to give the Yankees the division. Let me know down below if you think there's a scandal. I don't think there is. I think umpires are just pretty bad sometimes, and that's just the human element of it. But boy, is it really, in a game that was, the storyline should have been really, the Alek Manoah DFA, Santander coming back, Ty Francine plays the IL, and then hopefully winning the game, completely overshadowed by this. And then, of course, you have the Yankees game. Obviously this wasn't a scandal. Horrible, wild pitch to basically win them the game. And then, of course, a Caballero single, which should have probably been caught by Michael A. Taylor. Don't even get me started on it. It was brutal. This should have been, it gets me mad looking at it. It should have been, I'm never going to look at it again. You go up against Garrett Crochet today. The umpire, they must have the strongest union I've ever seen because there's never any repercussions. There's rarely any firings, which I don't want to advocate for anyone to be fired out of their job. Obviously, keep your job, do your living. However, there has to be some standard, right? If Jays players don't do well, they have to account for it, whether that be through getting DFA'd, whether that be through speaking to the media. Umpires, I wouldn't mind doing the same thing. If they do the same thing, why did he call that? What did he see? Of course, sometimes they do it for blown calls, after the game. I'm sure MLB will come out and say this was a blown call, or they won't. It is absolutely ludicrous. And let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think there's a scandal? It's ridiculous. And also, John Schneider, he said a couple things here as you look quickly to go into this. The Jays are 90-67. Following the loss, John Schneider, his response on it was, it was clearly a fair ball. The replay review immediately said it was a fair ball. It should have been called a fair ball, and that's that. You got to move on. That's what John Schneider basically said, to paraphrase it for you. And he's right. You have to move on, especially if you're the manager, because you're one game up. One game up, which is brutal. You were 4 or 5 games up just a few days ago. And Manoah, who, again, had pretty rough stats down there in AAA, even if, last 6 starts, 2-point-something ERA, it was a fake ERA. He's gone now. You move on without him. You have Ty France, quick update on him. He hurt his oblique hitting on the field this afternoon per manager John Schneider. That led to Santander getting activated a day earlier than the Jays had planned. So that's kind of the reason behind that. Hopefully, he's going to be in the lineup today. The offense needs it. And hopefully Rob Manfred's not planning some crazy scandal here and plotting some ridiculous stuff, because the worst umpiring I've ever seen. Shout out to you, Doug Eddings, for being a terrible umpire. Thank you guys for watching. And hopefully we don't get screwed over today. But let me clarify once more before I wrap up. Jay's offense needs to wake up. They need to swing the bats. That's not why. They're not losing because of a few missed calls. They're losing because of their lack of ability to hit. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Very curious. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.